Commander Yoon Tae-min stood in the main control room of Kepler Station, watching the stars through the large viewing window. The station sat at the edge of human space, far from Earth and the busy colonies closer to home. It was quiet here, peaceful even. Most days brought nothing but routine scans of empty space and reports to send back to Earth Command. But today was different. Lieutenant Park So-young turned from her control panel, her face showing the excitement that came with discovering something new. "Commander, I'm getting readings unlike anything I've seen before. Energy signatures coming from beyond the rim." Yoon walked over to her station and looked at the display. The numbers made no sense at first. Whatever was out there was big, very big, and moving toward them using technology that shouldn't exist. "Get Dr. Kim up here," Yoon ordered, "and wake Captain Lee. Tell her it's urgent." Within minutes, Chief Science Officer Dr. Kim Woo-jin rushed into the control room, still pulling on his uniform jacket. His eyes went wide when he saw the readings on Park's screen. "This can't be right," Kim said, running more scans. "The energy output is massive, and the propulsion system, it's like nothing in our databases." Captain Lee Hae-jin entered the room with quick steps. She was a small woman but commanded respect from everyone on the station. "What do we have?" Park turned to face her captain. "Unknown vessels approaching from outside the galaxy. At least 50 of them, maybe more. They'll be here in 6 hours. Lee studied the data for a long moment. Everyone in the room knew what this meant. After centuries of wondering if humans were alone in the universe, they finally had their answer. "Are we sure these are alien ships?" Lee asked. Kim nodded. "The technology readings are completely foreign. No human ship could produce these energy patterns." Lee took a deep breath. This was the moment she had trained for but never really expected to face. "Implement First Contact Protocol Omega. Power down all weapons systems. Lower defensive shields. Send a message to Earth Command immediately." "Captain," Yoon said carefully, "are we sure about lowering our defenses?" Lee looked at him with steady eyes. "We've planned for this day for over 100 years. Every simulation, every training exercise has taught us the same thing. If we meet aliens, we greet them as friends first. Show them we're not a threat." Specialist Choi Min-ho arrived. At his language station, he was the station's expert on communication and had spent years studying how to talk to alien species that might not think like humans at all. "I'm setting up translation protocols," Choi said, his fingers moving quickly over his keyboard. "If they try to communicate, I'll work on building a common language." The next few hours passed slowly. The alien ships grew closer, and their details became clearer. They were beautiful in a strange way, with smooth curves that seemed almost alive. They pulsed with soft lights that changed color as the ships moved. Engineering Chief Nam Ji-woo studied the alien technology from his station. Their ships seemed to be part machine and part something else, maybe biological. The energy readings keep shifting like they're breathing. When the aliens were 1 hour away, they sent their first message. It came as mathematical sequences, prime numbers, and basic physics constants. Choi worked frantically to respond with similar patterns, showing that humans understood science and logic. "They're responding," Choi said with excitement. "Look, they're sending back more complex mathematics. They understand what we're trying to do." Captain Lee felt hope growing in her chest. "Keep working on communication. Let's see if we can establish real contact." The alien fleet stopped just outside the system and sent one ship forward. It was larger than the others, clearly important. The ship moved with grace that seemed impossible for something so large. Dr. Shin Bora, the station's expert on cultures and societies, watched the approaching ship with interest. Their approach is careful but confident. They're not afraid of us, but they're not being reckless either. The alien ship sent a new message, more complex than before. Choi had been working for hours to build a translation system, and now it was starting to work. "I think they want to come aboard," Choi said. The message is something like, "Permission to meet in person." Captain Lee looked around the room at her crew. This was the biggest decision in human history. "Send back our agreement. Tell them they can dock in Bay 3. Communications Officer. Ryu Jae-sung had been quietly sending reports to Earth Command throughout the day. Now he received a message that made him pause. He read it twice before speaking. Captain, Earth Command acknowledges our situation. They're giving us full authority to handle first contact as we see fit. Lee nodded. She had expected this. Earth was too far away to give real-time help. Whatever happened next was up to her and her crew. The alien ship docked with perfect precision. Through the security cameras, they watched as the airlock opened and the aliens stepped onto human ground for the first time in history. They were tall, much taller than humans, with armor that looked like it was grown rather than built. They moved with purpose and confidence. The leader was easy to identify by the way the others followed behind it. Atmospheric readings show they can breathe our air, Nam reported. Their biology seems compatible with our environment. Captain Lee straightened her uniform and prepared to make history. I'm going to meet them. Yoon, you're with me. Everyone else, stay at your stations and keep recording everything. As they walked toward the docking bay, Lee felt the weight of responsibility on her shoulders. Everything humanity had dreamed about was about to begin. She had read every first contact protocol, studied every possible scenario. This was supposed to be humanity's greatest moment. But something felt wrong. The aliens moved like they owned the place, like they had done this many times before. As Lee and Yoon reached the docking bay doors, she couldn't shake the feeling that this wasn't the friendly first contact humanity had hoped for. The doors opened, and Captain Lee Hee-jin stepped forward to greet the first aliens humanity had ever met. Behind her, the crew of Kepler Station watched and waited, not knowing that everything they thought they knew about the universe was about to change forever. The lead alien stepped forward and began to speak in perfect, clear human language. I'm Overlord Kethran of the Veltar Empire. We need to talk. Captain Lee Hee-jin tried not to show her surprise when Overlord Kethran spoke in perfect human language. The alien was huge, nearly 3 meters tall, with armor that seemed to shift and change as she watched. Its face was hidden behind a mask that pulsed with the same soft lights as their ships. You speak our language, Lee said, keeping her voice calm and professional. We have been watching your species for some time, Kethran replied. His voice was deep and seemed to come from everywhere at once. We know much about humanity. Your languages, your technology, your weaknesses. Commander Yoon Tae-min stood, slightly behind Captain Lee, his hand resting near his sidearm. Something about the way Kethran said weaknesses made him nervous. We welcome you to our space, Lee said, following the first contact protocol she had memorized. We hope this can be the beginning of friendship between our peoples. Kethran tilted his head, and Lee could see what might have been amusement in his posture. Friendship. Yes, humans always speak of friendship. Come, let us go to your meeting room. We have much to discuss. They walked through the station corridors, the alien delegation following behind Kethran. Lee noticed how the other aliens constantly looked around as if measuring everything they saw. Dr. Shin Bo-ra had been right earlier. These beings were confident, but it wasn't the confidence of visitors. It was the confidence of owners. In the main conference room, Kethran waited for Lee to sit before taking his own chair, which groaned under his weight. The other aliens remained standing like guards. Captain Lee Hee-jin, Kethran began. I will be direct with you because I respect efficiency. The Veltar Empire has existed for over 10,000 of your years. In that time, we have brought order to hundreds of star systems and thousands of worlds. That sounds impressive, Lee replied carefully. We would love to learn more about your civilization. You will, Kethran said. The question is in what capacity? Back in the control room, Specialist Choi Min-ho was working frantically to record and analyze every word the aliens spoke. Dr. Kim Woo-jin studied the energy readings from their ships, while Dr. Shin Bo-ra watched the meeting through the security cameras. Something's not right, Bo-ra said quietly. Look at their body language. This isn't a friendly visit. Communications Officer Ryu Jae-sung had been sending encrypted reports to Earth Command every few minutes. The quantum communication system allowed near-instant contact with Earth, something the aliens apparently didn't know about. In the conference room, Kethran continued his speech. Throughout our expansion across the galaxy, we have encountered Many species. Some are wise enough to see the benefits of joining our empire peacefully. Others require more persuasion. What kind of benefits? Lee asked, though she was beginning to suspect she wouldn't like the answer. Protection, Catherine said simply. Order, purpose. Your species would become part of something greater than your small collection of worlds. Commander Yoon spoke up, for the first time. And if we're not interested in joining your empire? Catherine's mask seemed to focus on Yoon, and the commander felt like he was being examined by a predator. That would be unfortunate, but the Veltar Empire has procedures for dealing with uncooperative species. Dr. Bora watched the meeting and felt her stomach drop. She had studied human history extensively, and she recognized what was happening. This wasn't first contact. It was conquest. Captain Lee kept her expression neutral, but inside she was calculating rapidly. What exactly are you proposing, Overlord Kethran? I am offering your species 3 choices, Kethran said, raising one armored hand. First, complete integration into the Veltar Empire. Your worlds would become ours. Your people would serve our greater purpose, but you would be protected and given roles suited to your abilities. He raised a second finger. Second, immediate evacuation from all star systems we consider valuable. Your species could continue to exist in whatever remote corners of the galaxy we permit, but you would never again expand or develop advanced technology. A third finger rose. Third, we remove the problem entirely. Your species would be eliminated. To prevent future complications, the conference room fell silent. Captain Lee stared at the alien overlord, processing what she had just heard. This wasn't an offer, it was an ultimatum. How long do we have to decide? Lee asked. 72 of your Earth hours, Kethran replied. More than enough time for your leaders to see reason. In the control room, Ryu had been sending everything to Earth Command in real time. Now he received a priority message that made his eyes widen. He read it twice to make sure he understood correctly, then quietly got Commander Yoon's attention through the security channel. We need to consult with our government, Lee said. This is obviously not a decision I can make alone. Of course, Catherine agreed. We expected this. Your species always requires committee discussions before making obvious choices. The alien delegation prepared to leave, but before they reached the door, Catherine turned back to Captain Lee. I should mention, Captain, that our sensors have detected all of your communication systems. We know you have been sending reports to your homeworld throughout our meeting. This is acceptable. We want your leaders to understand the situation clearly. After the aliens left, Lee and Yoon hurried back to the control room. The crew was waiting with worried expressions. Captain, Ryu said quietly, I've been in contact with Earth Command throughout the meeting. They want to speak with you immediately on the quantum channel. Lee took the communication device and stepped into the private booth. The voice that came through was Admiral Chen, head of Earth Defense Command. Captain Lee, we've been monitoring the situation. How accurate was the translation? Very accurate, sir. They're demanding our surrender, exile, or death. Understood. Captain, I'm about to give you information that is classified at the highest levels. Are you ready? Lee felt her heart racing. Yes, sir. The Veltar Empire has made a serious mistake. Captain, they think they know about our technology, but they've only seen what we wanted them to see. Activate Titan Protocol, authorization code Omega-77 Alpha. Lee's hands began to shake. She had heard rumors about Titan Protocol during her advanced training, but she had never believed it was real. Sir, are you certain? Captain, the Veltar have just threatened the extinction of the human species. Yes, I am certain. You have full authorization to implement Titan Protocol. Make sure our new alien friends understand what happens when someone threatens humanity's children. Lee returned to the control room where her crew was waiting anxiously. What are our orders, Captain? Yoon asked. Lee looked around at her people, good, honest humans, who had dedicated their lives to exploring space and seeking knowledge. Now they were about to discover that their peaceful research station was something very different than what it appeared to be. Ryu, send a message to the Veltar flagship. Tell them we reject all 3 of their options. Captain, Dr. Kim asked, nervously. What's our fourth option? Captain Lee smiled, and for the first time since the aliens arrived, she felt completely calm. They're about to find out. As the Veltar delegation returned to their flagship, confident that humanity would soon accept their terms, Captain Lee Hae-jin began to reveal the truth about Kepler Station and humanity's real capabilities. Computer, activate Titan Protocol. Authorization Omega-77 Alpha, Lee said clearly. The station's main computer acknowledged her command, and suddenly everything changed. Walls that had seemed like simple metal panels slid away to reveal advanced weapon systems. Control stations that had appeared to be scientific instruments transformed into tactical displays, showing weapon targeting systems and fleet positions. Commander, Yoon Taemin stared in amazement as his familiar workplace became something entirely different. Captain, what is this place really? Kepler Station isn't just a research facility, Lee explained. It's the outermost sensor post of humanity's defensive network. We've been preparing for this day for over a century. Lieutenant Park So-young's communication board lit up with new channels she had never seen before. I'm receiving signals from all over the system. There are ships everywhere, Captain. How did we not know about this? Because you weren't supposed to know, a new voice said from the main screen. Admiral Song Dong-hyun appeared, speaking from what looked like a military command center built inside an asteroid. This is Admiral Song commanding the 7th Fleet. We've been watching this situation develop. Dr. Kim Woo-jin looked at the readings on his instruments and couldn't believe what he was seeing. These energy signatures, there are hundreds of ships out there. Massive ships. How long have they been hiding? The better question is how long we've been preparing, Admiral Song replied. When humanity first reached the stars, our leaders made a decision. We would hope for peace, but we would prepare for war. The main display showed a map of the star system, but now it was filled with symbols representing human ships and weapon platforms. What had seemed like empty space was actually crowded with hidden military assets. The Veltar think they know about human technology, Song continued. They observed our civilian ships, our public military vessels, our research stations like this one, but they never detected the Titan-class systems. Engineering Chief Nam Ji-woo studied the new readings flowing across his screens. Titan-class? I've never heard of these systems. That's because they're classified beyond your security level, Song explained. Dr. Park Chan-woo, are you ready to brief the station crew on what they're about to see? Another man appeared on the screen wearing the uniform of a research scientist. Dr. Park Chan-woo looked like he hadn't slept in days, but his eyes were bright with excitement. Kepler Station crew, what you're about to witness is the result of over 80 years of theoretical physics research. We asked ourselves a simple question. What would we need to protect humanity from any possible threat? Park gestured to charts and diagrams that appeared on the screen. The Titan Protocol includes weapon systems that operate beyond conventional physics, gravitational manipulation devices that can create miniature black holes, quantum disruptors that alter the fundamental structure of matter, temporal displacement mines that can remove objects from the timeline entirely. Dr. Shin Bo-ra felt her worldview changing as she listened. How is any of this possible? The energy requirements alone. We solved the energy problem 60 years ago, Park replied. Zero-point energy extraction, controlled fusion reactions that occur in pocket dimensions, and quantum power cells that draw energy directly from the vacuum of space itself. Admiral Song took control of the briefing again. The Veltar fleet is positioning itself in standard intimidation formation. They think they're preparing to destroy a helpless research station and a few patrol ships. On the tactical display, the alien fleet spread out across the system like a net. 200 ships, each one larger than humanity's biggest known warships, moving with confidence toward what they believed was an easy victory. Fleet Captain Oh Soo-jin, report status, Song commanded. A new voice joined the conversation. UHS Indomitable ready for combat, Admiral. All Titan-class systems charged and standing by. Captain Lee realized she was about to witness something unprecedented. How many ships do we actually have out there? Every human colony contributed to the Titan fleet, Song replied. We have over 300 vessels equipped with technology that makes our regular military ships look like toys. Communications Officer Ryu J. Sung monitored the alien communications. The Veltar are broadcasting their final ultimatum. They're demanding our immediate surrender. Any response, Admiral? Lee asked. Song smiled grimly. Send them this message. No. As Ryu transmitted the single word, the entire system seemed to come alive. Hidden ships throughout the system powered up their engines and weapon systems. Asteroid fields revealed themselves to be camouflaged battle stations. What had appeared to be cosmic dust clouds were actually swarms of automated defense drones. Commander Ko Min-jun's voice came through from his stealth ship. Shadow strike in position, Admiral. Temporal displacement weapons locked onto primary targets. Captain Lim Ye-jin reported from her position. UHS Retribution ready to engage. Quantum disruptor arrays charged and targeting the enemy flagship. The Veltar fleet suddenly found itself surrounded by human ships that seemed to appear from nowhere. Their sensors, which had detected nothing unusual moments before, were now screaming warnings about massive energy buildups all around them. Overlord Catherine's voice came through the communication channels, and for the first time, he sounded uncertain. Human vessels, you are heavily outnumbered. Surrender now and your deaths will be quick. Admiral Song responded personally. Overlord Kethran, you have made a fundamental error. You assumed that a peaceful species would be a weak species. You were wrong. Dr. Kim watched his instruments in fascination. The energy readings from our ships, they're beyond anything I thought possible. How did we keep this secret for so long? Compartmentalization, Song explained. Every scientist worked on small pieces of the project. Only a few people knew the full scope. We learned from history that the best way to prepare for war is to do it so secretly that even most of your own people don't know about it. The Veltar fleet began moving into attack formation, their weapons charging up for what they expected to be a devastating first strike against the inferior human forces. They had no idea that humanity had been waiting for this moment for over a century, and that every weapon system pointing at them represented technology so advanced that it would redefine what was possible in warfare. Tactical Officer Seo Junho coordinated the targeting from his hidden command ship. All vessels report ready, Admiral. We have locks on every enemy ship. Weapons free, Admiral Song commanded. Show them what happens when someone threatens humanity. The 5-minute war was about to begin. The moment Admiral Song Dong-hyun gave the order to fire, space itself seemed to explode with light and energy. What followed was not a battle in any traditional sense. It was a demonstration of technological superiority so overwhelming that it redefined what warfare could be. Captain Lim Ye-jin fired the first shot from the UHS Retribution. Her quantum disruptor arrays sent beams of pure energy that didn't just hit the Veltar flagship. They passed through its shields as if they didn't exist and began breaking apart the ship's hull at the atomic level. Direct hit on the enemy flagship, Ye-jin reported calmly. Their shields had no effect on the quantum disruptors. Overlord Kethran watched in horror as sections of his ship simply ceased to exist. The quantum disruptors weren't destroying the hull. They were convincing the atoms that made up the hull that they no longer wanted to be part of a spaceship. Impossible, he whispered. Our shields have never failed before. His weapons officer tried to return fire, but Chief Engineer Yo Hae-young had other plans. The energy beams from the Veltar weapons struck the Retribution's shields and simply vanished. Where did our weapons' fire go? The Veltar officer asked in panic. Pocket dimension redirection, Yo explained to her human crew. Their energy, weapons are now floating harmlessly in a parallel universe. Commander Ko Min-jun piloted the Shadow Strike with precision that bordered on artistic. His ship was equipped with humanity's most exotic weapons, temporal displacement devices that could edit objects out of history itself. Targeting 3 enemy cruisers, Ko reported. Temporal mines armed and firing. The mines attached themselves to the Veltar ships and activated. For a brief moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then the 3 cruisers simply weren't there anymore. They hadn't exploded or been destroyed. They had never existed in the first place. Confirm target elimination, Admiral Song requested. Negative, Admiral, Ko replied. There were no targets to eliminate. Those ships were never built. On Kepler Station, Dr. Kim Woo-jin stared at his instruments in amazement. The temporal displacement weapons are actually rewriting history. Those ships existed 30 seconds ago, but now they never existed at all. The Veltar fleet tried to respond to the attack, but their weapons were useless against human technology. Energy beams disappeared into pocket dimensions. Physical missiles were caught by gravitational fields and crushed into dust. Nuclear warheads were disarmed by quantum interference that convinced their atoms to stop reacting. Fleet Captain Oh Soo-jin commanded the UHS Indomitable, the largest of the Titan-class ships. Her vessel alone carried enough firepower to destroy entire star systems, but she used it with surgical precision. Gravitational lance cannons fire at will, she ordered. The Indomitable's main weapons created tiny black holes that lasted for exactly 3 seconds each. The artificial singularities tore through the Veltar formation like invisible hands ripping apart paper ships. 15 enemy vessels were destroyed in the first volley. Lieutenant Colonel Bae Sung-min coordinated the weapons fire with the calm efficiency of someone who had trained for this moment his entire life. Target the enemy command ships first. Let's remove their ability to coordinate. The Veltar tried to retreat but found that space itself was working against them. Hidden throughout the system, humanity had deployed spatial distortion devices that made faster-than-light travel impossible within the battle area. We can't jump to hyperspace, a Veltar pilot reported to his commander. Something is interfering with our engines. The humans have created a gravity well that encompasses the entire system, his science officer replied. We're trapped here until those devices are shut down. Communications specialist Im Dae-young was having the time of her life. While the weapons destroyed enemy ships, she had hacked into the Veltar communication systems and was listening to their panicked transmissions. They're trying to call for reinforcements, she reported to Admiral Song. Should I let the messages through? Block everything, Song ordered. And while you're in their systems, download everything you can. We'll want to know about their other fleets. Already on it, Admiral. I'm copying their entire database. Looks like they have detailed maps of their empire, fleet positions, and... Oh, this is interesting. They have files on dozens of other species they've conquered. Tactical Officer Seo Jun-ho watched the battle unfold on his screens with professional satisfaction. Every human ship was performing exactly as designed. The Veltar fleet, which had seemed so powerful an hour ago, was being systematically destroyed. Enemy. Fleet strength down to 60%, he reported. No human casualties. All systems operating within normal parameters. The Veltar weapons officer on the flagship tried one final desperate attack. He fired their most powerful weapon, a planet-killer beam that had destroyed entire worlds in the past. The beam struck the Indomitable directly. For a moment, the massive human ship was surrounded by energy that should have vaporized it instantly. Then, the energy simply flowed around the ship like water around a rock and dissipated harmlessly into space. How? Catherine demanded. That weapon has never failed before. Captain O smiled from her command chair. Phase-shifted matter. Your weapon exists in normal space. My ship currently exists in a slightly different dimension. Your beam can't hurt what it can't touch. The battle continued for exactly 4 minutes and 37 seconds. When it ended, the Veltar fleet had been reduced from over 200 ships to exactly one, Kethran's flagship, which had been deliberately spared. Admiral Song opened a communication channel to the surviving alien ship. Overlord Kethran, you now have a choice to make. Kethran looked around his damaged bridge. Half his crew was dead, his weapons were destroyed, and his shields were gone. Around his ship floated the wreckage of what had been the Veltar Empire's most powerful fleet. What kind of choice? He asked quietly. You can die here with your ship, or you can live to deliver a message to your empire, Song replied. The choice is yours. Captain Lee Hai-jin watched the aftermath of the battle from Kepler Station. Her quiet research post had revealed itself to be part of humanity's greatest military secret, and she had just witnessed the most one-sided battle in galactic history. "Admiral," she said, "what happens now?" "Now we find out if the Veltar Empire is smart enough to learn from this lesson," Song replied. "And if they're not, we have 200 more fleets just like this one positioned throughout human space." Commander Yoon looked at his captain with new respect. "Did you know about any of this?" Lee shook her head. "I knew there were classified projects, but nothing like this. Humanity has been preparing for interstellar war since we first reached the stars." On the Veltar flagship, Overlord Kethran made his decision. His empire needed to know what they were facing. "I choose to live," he said simply. "Good," Admiral Song replied. "Then listen carefully to what I'm about to tell you, because the future of your empire depends on you delivering this message accurately." The 5-minute war was over. The real negotiations were about to begin. Overlord Kethran sat in the ruins of his command bridge, surrounded by the debris of what had once been the Veltar Empire's most powerful fleet. His ship's life support systems barely functioned, and emergency lighting cast strange shadows across the damaged walls. For the first time in his long life, he felt completely helpless. Admiral Song Dong-hyun's voice came through the communication system with crystal clarity. "Overlord Kethran, you now understand what happens when someone threatens humanity. But this demonstration was just the beginning." "What do you want from us?" Kethran asked, his voice barely above a whisper. "Dr. Kim Woo-jin will explain our terms," Song replied. The chief science officer from Kepler Station appeared on the communication screen. His calm, professional manner seemed almost insulting after what Kethran had just experienced. "The Veltar Empire will immediately cease all expansion activities," Kim began, reading from a prepared document. "All tributary species under your control will be granted immediate independence. Your military fleets will be reduced to defensive forces only." "That would mean the end of our empire," Kethran protested. "Yes, it would," Kim agreed without emotion. "You will also submit to regular inspections by human peacekeeping forces to ensure compliance with these terms." Captain Lee Hai-jin watched the negotiation from Kepler Station with mixed feelings. Part of her felt sorry for the defeated alien commander, but she remembered his ultimatum to humanity just hours before. "What if we refuse these terms?" Kethran asked. Admiral Song answered that question personally. "Then we will systematically destroy every Veltar military installation in the galaxy. Your empire will end not through negotiation, but through complete annihilation." Dr. Shin Bora had been studying the alien psychology throughout the crisis. Now she spoke up with an observation that surprised everyone. "Overlord Kethran, there is another option we haven't discussed yet." "What option?" Both Song and Kethran asked at the same time. "Cooperation," Bora said simply. "Humanity doesn't want to rule the galaxy. We want to explore it, learn from it, and protect it. Species that choose cooperation over conquest will find us to be generous allies." Xenobiologist Dr. An Seo-jin joined the conversation from her research ship. "We've been analyzing the data communication specialist IM gathered from your databases. Your empire conquered hundreds of species, but many of them had technologies and knowledge that could benefit everyone if shared freely." "You would work with us?" Kethran asked, confusion evident in his voice. "After what we tried to do to your species?" Captain Lee answered that question. "Overlord Kethran, humanity learned long ago that our greatest strength comes from working together with others who share our values. We don't need enemies, we need friends." "But you clearly prepared for enemies," Kethran observed. "Yes," Lee admitted, "because we knew that someday someone might threaten our children. When that happened, we wanted to be ready." Commander Ko Min-jun's voice came through from his stealth ship. "Admiral, I'm detecting movement from the Veltar territories. Multiple fleets are moving toward this system." "Reinforcements?" Song asked. "Unknown, but they'll be here in about 6 hours. Kethran straightened in his damaged chair. "Those are the second and third assault fleets. Over 500 ships. My empire doesn't surrender easily." Admiral Song smiled. "Good. We were hoping for a chance to demonstrate our point more clearly. Over the next 6 hours, humanity prepared for the second battle. But this time, they didn't hide their preparations. The Veltar reinforcements arrived to find human fleets waiting for them in perfect formation. Fleet Captain Osu Jin commanded the human forces with calm confidence. Attention, Veltar fleets. You have seen what happened to your first assault fleet. You have one opportunity to withdraw peacefully. The Veltar admiral commanding the reinforcements was named Thekvar, and he was even more aggressive than Kethran had been. Humans, your trick weapons may have worked once, but we are prepared for you now. Are you? O asked politely. The second battle lasted 3 minutes and 12 seconds. The Veltar reinforcements had brought upgraded shields, better weapons, and more powerful ships. None of it mattered against humanity's Titan-class technology. This time, humanity didn't hold back. Temporal displacement weapons removed entire squadrons from history. Gravitational lance cannons created black holes that consumed whole battle groups. Quantum disruptors broke down matter at the subatomic level, turning mighty warships into clouds of harmless particles. When it was over, Admiral Thekvar found himself in the same position as Kethran, alone on a damaged ship surrounded by debris. Do you require a third demonstration? Admiral Song asked. No, Thekvar replied quietly. We surrender. 6 months later, former Overlord Kethran stood in the new Galactic Peace Enforcement Office, wearing the uniform of a cultural liaison officer. The office was located on a neutral space station built jointly by humans and several alien species. Ambassador Hong Ji-min managed the day-to-day operations of the Peace Office. She was a diplomat who had spent her career preparing for the day when humanity would need to interact with alien civilizations. How are the integration programs proceeding? Hong asked Kethran during their weekly meeting. Better than expected, Kethran replied. Most of our former tributary species have chosen to join the Galactic Cooperation Council. The Zephyrians have shared their atmospheric processing technology. The Carillians are teaching us new mathematical concepts. And the Veltar people? Themselves? Many are struggling with the transition, Kethran admitted. We defined ourselves through conquest for thousands of years. Learning to define ourselves through cooperation is challenging. Hong nodded sympathetically. Change is never easy, especially for proud species like yours. Kethran looked out the office window at the busy space lanes surrounding the station. Human ships worked alongside vessels from dozens of different species, sharing resources and knowledge. Ambassador Hong, may I ask you a question? Of course. How long did your people spend preparing for galactic war? Hong thought for a moment. Since we first reached our own moon, we've been planning for the day we might meet hostile aliens. Over 300 years of preparation. 300 years, Kethran repeated. And in all that time you never started a war yourselves. We learned from our own history, Hong explained. Humans fought wars against each other for thousands of years. We learned that the cost of war is always higher than the cost of peace. But you were ready for war. We were ready to defend ourselves and others who couldn't defend themselves, Hong corrected. There's a difference. Kethran nodded slowly. In his quarters, he kept a holographic record of the 5-minute war, not as a monument to defeat, but as a reminder of what happened when fear and aggression replaced wisdom and diplomacy. The galaxy had changed. Species that had lived in fear of the Veltar Empire now worked together freely. Trade routes opened between distant worlds. Scientific discoveries were shared across the stars. And at the center of it all was humanity, a species that had prepared for the worst while hoping for the best. Ambassador, Kethran said as their meeting concluded, your people's message has spread throughout the galaxy. What message is that? We seek friends among the stars. We have prepared for enemies among the stars. Choose wisely which you wish to be, Hong smiled. That's not just humanity's message, Kethran. That's the foundation of our new galactic civilization. Outside the station, human patrol ships moved through space alongside vessels from dozens of other species. The galaxy was finally at peace, protected by those who understood that the greatest strength came not from the ability to destroy, but from the wisdom to know when that ability should never be used. But everyone also understood that if someone threatened the innocent again, humanity would be ready.